Greetings everyone, it's Matt Dickinson here, signing in for this, the second of my special video messages for Harrow Libraries and their summer reading challenge, which goes by the fantastic name of Silly Squad. And it's a real pleasure to be back, looking at books from the point of view of being a writer, looking at books from the point of view of being a person that enjoys storytelling and has always loved reading as well. And if you asked a question of any author, I think, why do you write? What's the reason why you love to write? It always comes from a love of reading. And I was one of those young readers. I can remember probably from the age of about 8 or 9 years old, getting absolutely fascinated by books, absorbed by books, adventure books, comedy. I loved all sorts of different stories, and I think that's where every single writer that you talk to will tell you that that's where their journey began. It began as a reader. And I hope that you've had a great opportunity through the whole of the lockdown period here in Harrow to develop your own reading and to be adventurous with your reading, because I think that's really an important thing, isn't it? It's very easy, as I know myself and I know with my own children watching their reading habits, to find an author, find a series, and then you devour that series. You get really hungry for it. You gobble it up really, really quickly, and then you want more of the same. And that creates a problem, because sometimes there isn't more of the same, is there? And so I used to, when I was a child, go back and start again and start to read the series again, which I'm sure many of you have done that as well with your favourite series that you've enjoyed. But of course, if you are prepared to be a bit more adventurous, then that's a good thing, isn't it? Because it means that you might find other writers, other authors that you may not have otherwise found. And so I would encourage you to be adventurous readers and to get into those libraries and to find writers and to ask for advice from grown-ups who know about books, but also from your friends as well, because recommendations from your friends are often the most powerful and effective way to find new and exciting books, aren't they? So my books, if you remember from our first video, the Popcorn Eating Squirrels series definitely falls into the category of Silly Squad. I mean, what could be more silly than a bunch of squirrels who are addicted to eating popcorn? And I think the craziness of it is what really attracted me to that series from the beginning. But some of my other series are more adventure based, and I thought because this is our second video, it would be a good idea to introduce one of my other books, and that is the Everest Files. Now, this book is enjoyed by a wide range of reading age. I mean, year 6 and up, really. So if you like adventure, if you're interested to find out more about the biggest mountain in the world, why do people want to climb it? What goes wrong? Are some of the rumours true about Mount Everest? The dark rumours about lost climbers on the slopes abandoned to their fate. Are all those things true? Well, if you wanted to find out, you could take a look at my book, The Everest Files, and find out the story of Everest seen from the point of view of a very young climber. And the Everest Files demonstrate something that I thought I'd touch on with this video, because it's an important thing if you are going to create a story. And that is, what type of characters are you going to follow in your story? And why should we be interested in them? Why should we care about them? And what have they got a problem in their lives that they need to solve? Well, with the Everest Files, the person that I'm following into this is an 18-year-old boy who goes to Mount Everest from the UK to work with a charity. And when he goes there to volunteer as a gap year project, he finds a story about a local boy who disappeared on the mountain. And that's where his adventure begins. So his quest, if you like, is to discover the secret of what happened to this boy on Everest. With the Popcorn Eating Squirrels, of course, they've got a different problem. Their problem is that there's been a flood in the park where they live, and so their normal source of food has just simply disappeared. And that means that they are actually starving. So the Popcorn Eating Squirrels in my book, they start in a pretty serious life or death situation, a survival situation in a very real sense, because they are fighting for their lives. And so even though it's a comedy book, it actually starts in a very serious way, because you need to create for your characters a problem that has to be solved. And the problem for the popcorn eating squirrels is that they are actually extremely hungry and all of their food has been destroyed in this horrible flood. Now, I thought I'd read a little bit from Popcorn Eating Squirrels for you for this Silly Squad video. So here we go. This is a little reading from the section where the popcorn eating squirrels find out that there's been a flood and that all of their nuts that they've buried have been destroyed. And there's a really nice picture to go with this one as well, which I'll show you a little bit here. That's a picture of the 3 squirrels on a park bench, feeling very lost and miserable with the water underneath them and the wind is blowing. A really desolate image. The chapter is called Cloudburst. That night, the rain began. Torrential rain. Freezing wind whipped through the trees, and the squirrel's cosy nest was blown away, the leaves and moss scattered by a vicious blast. The rain continued for a second day, and that night the river beside the park burst its banks, swamping everything around. As dawn broke, the squirrels stared out across a vast lake of floodwater. "All the nuts we buried," Cassie cried. "Our winter supplies," Ben said quietly. On the 3rd day, the rain stopped. On the 4th day, the water level fell. The hungry friends came down and sniffed around, finally finding a buried stash of acorns. Alfie, who's the smallest squirrel, dug one up from the soggy ground and bit into it. Bleh! He spat out the waterlogged nut. Yucky! The acorns were ruined. Cassie sighed. She scratched half-heartedly at the earth. "Alfie hungry," Alfie said. "Alfie, tummy hurts." Suddenly the wind changed direction and Cassie smelled the air. "The sweetness," she said, smiling. "It's back." And that sweetness that Cassie smells there in the Popcorn Eating Squirrels book number 1 is actually the smell of popcorn coming from across a very busy road. And that popcorn is in an old cinema. And this old cinema has been abandoned. And inside it is a popcorn machine and a whole load of unexploded popcorn. And what happens is the squirrels manage to find a way to get into the old cinema. And suddenly their lives are fantastic. They've got as much popcorn as they can possibly eat. They've got salty, they've got butterscotch, they've got sugary popcorn, they've got every type of popcorn you can possibly imagine. But then everything goes terribly badly wrong. And you have to read the book to find out why and how. So really, I think the important thing for telling a story is to create some characters or a single character and give those characters a real problem that has to be solved. And the more complicated the problem and more serious the problem, the more interesting the book becomes. And so that's a good piece of advice. So if you are thinking during this lockdown period or during the summer and as part of the Silly Squad Harrow Libraries challenge, if you are thinking to create a small book and you're going to perhaps do some illustrations, some ideas for the characters, and that's a really great idea. Find a way of giving your characters a bit of a problem, because if you can give them a problem, then your story will have more conflict and it'll have more interest, and that's the way to go. I just thought I'd show you a little glimpse of the popcorn eating squirrels, and there they are sitting on the branch there, feeling very happy at the start of the story. That's before the flood comes in to destroy their dreams. You may ask, what's the story of the second Popcorn Eating Squirrels book? And the answer to that is that Alfie, the smallest little squirrel, actually gets kidnapped. He gets kidnapped by the evil honey badgers, which are this evil gang. And they take him off to Mount Everest as part of a project to try and win £1 million and popcorn for life if they can get to the summit of Mount Everest. And poor little Alfie is kidnapped there. Now, this book has been really, really great fun to write, and that is The Popcorn Eating Squirrels Go Nuts on Everest, which I hope that you'll be able to find and enjoy. And shortly, coming up quite soon, the 3rd book in the series, which is The Popcorn Eating Squirrels Go Nuts with the Dinosaurs, is going to be out in the shops, and that'll be a really, really exciting moment for me. So that's my advice in this video. We'll wrap it up there. The advice is this: if you want to create a story, find a character that's really interesting and give that character a problem. And once that character's got a real problem, then they have to solve that problem, don't they? And that is the starting point, it's the first stepping stone on the road to creating a really interesting story. So thanks for listening, and I'll sign off now. Matt Dickinson with Harrow Libraries and the Silly Squad Summer Reading Challenge. Video number 2 coming to an end here, and shortly I'll be back with you with video number 3. All the best. Bye for now.